welcome to Podcast versus Player, episode 220. I'm one of your hosts, Cal, and as always, I'm joined by a man who was asked in a job interview, where do you see yourself in the next 5 years? He said, I think my biggest weakness is listening.
That's pretty good.
It's only sweating Dan.
For you, mate, it's only bloody hot, isn't it?
It bloody is, and I didn't realise it until, obviously, we've come to record this, and I've turned the fan off, and I'm fucking sweating.
Well, I had to close the window, so if I pass out halfway through this, it's because the heat stroke has taken me, unfortunately.
It's horrible.
But, Callum, something that our international viewership and listenership may not be aware of is that us Brits, we love to have a bloody moan about the weather, right? Whenever it's too hot, we whinge about it being too hot. Whenever it's too cold, it's too cold. Whenever it's mild, we're annoyed because it hasn't made its mind up either way. Yeah. And we can't get angry with it. And I tell you what, the coming weeks where it's predicted that in some parts of southern England, it's going to start hitting 40 degrees, this country will shut down.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I dealt with, I think when I was in Vietnam, I think it was about 40
on holiday, not in the war.
Degrees. During the war. There's a reference no one will get. But it was like 90% humidity, like 42 degrees. Like I could be outside for about 10 minutes walking before we had to pop into a cafe or something like that. Luckily, everything was so cheap there. I didn't mind stopping in and getting like an ice cream or a latte or something like that because it was 50p. Doesn't matter. But here, we don't have the air conditioning infrastructure to be able to deal with this kind of heat, man. Like, people will genuinely die. I genuinely think that will be the case.
The annoying thing is, like, at work, we'll have the aircon on in the office, and I always turn it off because the unit is directly above my desk. So it's really fucking nice until it's freezing cold. And I'm like, fucking hell, I've put my fucking jacket on. I turn it off and they'll come out and they'll always whinge and they'll be like, we've turned the aircon off because it's not directly above you. But it is directly above me. Directly above me, and it's horrible. But the second I leave the office, I'm like, fucking hell, I miss that air conditioning.
Yeah, like we don't have an air conditioning. Like we've got a brand new, like nice, very nice, modernised office.
Yeah, it's lovely.
And we don't have an air conditioning unit. We have... Like, literally, at the moment,
there's
about...
with a piece of cardboard.
No, and not even that, unfortunately. We've just got literally every window just open. Like, every single one.
Got no fans.
And all it does is it just blows hot air in.
Have you seen those? You can buy them on Amazon. They're not expensive, like 30, 40 quid. And it basically looks like a fan, but it's not. And it does the same job as an air conditioner. Obviously, it's a lot smaller, but it does the same job as an air conditioning unit, where it'll take in the air and then distribute it cooler. So it's always circulating cool air. So after like about half an hour of being in the room, all of the room will be cool and not warm air. I'm 80% sure they're sold out completely. But
yeah, that wouldn't surprise me.
It's one of those ones that, like I said to Logan's got a fan in his room. Got one down here, one in his room, one in our room, etc. But he's only got a small one. And I said to him the other day, I says, in the winter, I'll buy you a new fan. And he was like, but we won't need one in the winter. He goes, no, but they won't be like ridiculous prices in the winter.
No, that's very true.
So you can do that one for now.
I think we just, because the problem is that with the energy problems that we've all got as well, and the inflation costs of energy, if it does, I mean, luckily because I'm further up north than you are, so it won't hit us quite so bad. But we hit like 30 degrees on Monday.
Yeah.
Like that was real bad. But if it gets any higher, if we go, oh shit, now we might as well get an air conditioning unit because like this isn't going away now. Every year this is happening where it's getting worse and worse. Climate change. But it's going to cost you an absolute fortune if you buy an air conditioning unit because you're going to get screwed by the electricity companies. Like, there's no getting out of this. One way or another, we're all fucked. Yeah. Unless you're rich, obviously, and then this is nothing but just an inconvenience for you, isn't it?
Yeah, but even that, like, there's only so much. Like, at the moment, obviously, everyone's going, renewable energy and go green and all this. We're not getting into a political, environmental podcast or anything like that, but we, as people that pay quite a lot of money for electricity, I'm on a fixed rate at the moment, so I'm not too worried. What I am worried about is I found out the other day that Zoe's only just realised that if we're not using it, turn the immersion heater off. I'm like, wait, what? What do you mean? No wonder my bill's £400 a fucking month.
Yeah.
But the obviously fuel and everything else has gone up like astronomical prices. When we are using more electric and there are more electric vehicles and stuff on the road, electric's only going to get more and more and more expensive. And because we are going to be in a position where in like 30 years time where it is going to be more electric vehicles, there will be fewer places with central heating. It's going to be through the fucking... You're going to have to remortgage to pay your fucking electric.
It would change out by then, because the abundance of electrical sources and renewable energy, again, if these kind of plans go ahead, would mean that it's more like, because that is then the mainstay, which is why, like, when the internet came out, it was incredibly expensive to be on the internet. But now it's so abundant and it's such a necessary thing. It's, what, a tenner a month sometimes, you know?
Judging by, like, with the whole fuel thing, and, I mean, to be fair, this was more Boris Johnson, but I was watching him on Good Morning Britain or whatever the show is it was on at work. And he was on about it, and he says, obviously, we can't do this windfall tax because it's going to affect the investors and for the fuel and blah blah blah. And BP came out and went, even with everything else, we made like £50 billion last year. Put the tax in, makes no fucking odds to us. Like, just do it. Yeah. And
like, when you're getting that much income and they go, we're going to tax you half of it, they'll be like, go for it.
Yeah, do what you fucking want. But they,
like, if that
still didn't do it.
I don't know, because like it's always the people with the most money that have the most power.
Yeah.
And usually those are the ones that aren't particularly interested in giving anyone else a break.
Exactly.
So whilst me and you, if we all of a sudden inherited BP and we were just sort of like, where the fuck are we making this much money? We couldn't spend this much money. What we're going to do? Build more oil rigs and ruin everything for everyone. Like, there is a countdown for how long that business is viable. So what they should be doing is going, right, every single scrap of land that we can purchase and put solar farms down, that's what we need to be investing in.
Yeah, like, jump into that.
Yeah, you just wean everybody off it, and then you're just right there, and you can still make those massive profits.
Yeah, because you'll be running it. You're still running the same like fuel situation. It's just better for the environment.
Yeah, I just don't think that the way things are going, I don't think me and you are going to get the chance to retire. Like, we're going to be scorched to death by the
we'll be
ever-changing climate. We'll have frozen to death because of the heating crisis. All of the... it's just so extortionate to pay for fuel anymore. After we burnt our last book and desk, that's it. We're just out in the cold. Or there's going to be Russia or China, or there's going to be something that kicks off and we get drafted and get blown up in some battlefield somewhere else. I'm not retired, mate. I can't do it.
It's one of them. It's like, what's the saying? I can't afford to die.
Yeah, right. Like, I mean, that's why I'm in my own head. My justification for like starting smoking again is like, doesn't matter now. Like, might as well. I enjoyed it, so let's get back into it.
It does always make me laugh, and I've been witness to it where like people who have been diagnosed with like lung cancer or whatever. And they'll start smoking again, and either their significant other or the kids or the friends, whatever, be like, "Why don't start smoking? This is what got you into this situation." Well, I've already got it, so what more damage is it going to do?
Yeah, it's just going to speed up the death. Good. I don't want to draw this out. Like, just horrible and slow and painful. No, thank you.
Well, a lot of people, like, to the back end. I mean, I haven't smoked a cigarette for 9 years this month, and
congrats.
Aye, thank you very much. The last few years of when I did smoke, I didn't enjoy it. It wasn't like, you had that feeling where you had a cigarette and you're like, oh, fucking hell, I've been craving this like all fucking day, or really needed that. Yeah. I didn't enjoy any of it. I used to a lot, but the last few years of it was just like just doing it because I had to, because I was obviously addicted. And
well, I think you smoked more than I did.
I smoked for like I started when I was like...
Sorry, this isn't emphysema.
Yeah, he's not very well.
I've just come off the back of COVID and then caught some bloody cold or something like that in the middle, like afterwards as well, which I'm not super fond of. But there we go.
This is the effects of cigarettes, kids. It's short-term memory loss.
I had that long before.
I smoked longer than you had.
So you smoked more. Like I was only 4, 5 a day, maybe. Like if you're doing like 20 a day, I imagine that eventually it would get past the point of just like, oh, this isn't an enjoyable thing. Like this is just life now.
Yeah, I mean, I never hit. I don't think I ever got to the point. I definitely would have smoked 20 a day at some point, but not like religiously. Like most of the time, purely because I couldn't afford to. A pack of 20 would typically last me 3 days, typically, but only if I wasn't at home on my own. If I was at home on my own and I was like, I'm bored as shit, I'll eat them, I'll smoke them, like whatever. But no, and if I was drinking as well, I used to smoke a lot when I was drinking.
Well, that's the only time I sort of I don't really have sort of like bad days. Like I just de-stress. Like usually I'll shout at you for a bit or do something else. But there are times like when I've been out and I've had a few drinks and it's a nice night. And it's just sort of like you just get to the point where you just sort of like, oh my god, why don't I go out more often? Before you suddenly realise, oh, it's the crackheads and the money and but it's like those times where I'm just sort of like, oh, if someone just offered me a smoke now, I think I'd go for it. I'd hate it, and then about halfway through you'd be like, why did I stop doing this? Like that. I think that's potentially. So I'm going to a horse racing thing on Friday, with work. And it seems like it's the very sort of, like, when you get off the coach when we get there, champagne. It's like 12 o'clock, bang, champagne, there you go.
It's like a cigar?
Like, I don't think it's cigar worthy necessarily, but I reckon that if, I've had a few, like, because we'll be there for like 6 hours or whatever, and I've got no interest in horse racing and gambling or whatever.
Do you think they'll have those, I don't know what they're called, but the ones Cruella de Vil had?
Oh, with like
the long pencil pen holdery cigarette thing.
If I could get away with that, I would love that. That's an absolute statement piece. That is. Like it seems like it would be
big like P Diddy style coat.
No, I think that's a big pipe that you're after.
Oh yeah.
But I don't think like it's quite like top hat and tails that level, but it's still like there is like a dress code.
Yeah.
Like you have to dress up properly. But I reckon that if I'm just sort of a bit bored or whatever and end up having quite a few drinks, potentially if I'm getting a little bit bored, if someone sort of offers it.
Cigarettes and alcohol and boredom are the worst thing.
Exactly.
The only thing, and this is technically your fault, Dan, but the only time not since I quit, because obviously when I stopped, there was times I really wanted one, but for many, 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 many years, I never crave a cig. I've never once gone, I could just go and buy some cigarettes and have one. Like I haven't had that. But when we were younger, we used to talk for hours on the telephone, and I always used to smoke in my porch. And if I have a phone conversation, this doesn't matter as much. It's always like if I'm on the phone and because I'm not doing anything. And I'll always have to cut the conversation short because that's when I'm like, it just gets into my head. I could just have a vape or something, but that's the only time I ever think of... That's just like such a
psychological trigger.
Yeah.
Just like, in this specific situation, this is what I do or what I want to do when I'm in it.
Yeah.
That's really cool. Like the fact that it still gets you this, like...
Yeah, well, it's even now. Like, even, like, sometimes I've been at work and I've been on the phone to my sister, or if Zoe's rang me or something, and I've been on the phone for a lot longer than I need to be. I'll get that feeling. And normally I'll just either just walk outside and vape or something. But that's the only times I ever think I could just have a cigarette. The only times, like I can be
that's interesting.
Really angry or really drunk or whatever, and that doesn't bother. It's just that, and that's because of you.
I'm sorry, I didn't realise. But I don't think there's I don't think I've got a specific thing. I think this is when I started during lockdown properly. When I was quitting, I knew I couldn't just go back to bed because it was too similar, and I'd want to go to the balcony or whatever.
Yeah.
And as soon as I'd do that, it would just maybe that would be that sort of that triggering kind of because I've got no reason to be on the balcony other than if I was sparking up. Do you know what I mean? And plus, my old housemate at the time, he smoked as well, so it kind of just made sense. But I don't. Yeah, I really don't want to, and I think I'm especially if I'm drinking or something like that. I don't really like getting pissed out of my head anyway, because it's just I don't like losing time and stuff. But I just know that my inhibitions are just down to zero. And if someone was just like, do you want to do...
Excuse me.
I don't know, do you want to just smoke an entire box of fags for 20 quid? I'd be like, yep.
What?
Yeah, in one go. Just watch me. But, I don't know why we ended up...
I don't even know how we got that. Smoking's bad, don't do it, but if you do, you're your own person.
Yeah, it does make you cooler though, so bear that in mind.
I will say, smoking, if one thing, is a really easy way to meet new people.
That's true. It's
a very sociable habit.
And it's also a great way, if you're, working in an office maybe, and you get a 10-15 minute break or something like that, a couple of times a day usually, being able to go down, go outside where all the other smokers are, spark up, have a bit of a chat, finish that fag. That is usually about 10 minutes, and then you make your way back up. That is it's a perfect break length, which I can't help but think that that's the reason that exists. So you can spark space out, you're there for a couple of hours, have a smoke, lunchtime, do whatever you want, have a smoke, halfway through the end of the day, have another smoke, finish work, have another smoke. Do you know what I mean? It's just so it's you're getting it every couple of hours.
Because of the amount of people, especially in when it was days of miners and stuff like that, and I mean people working in the mines, not children. During that era, a lot of people smoked, and I imagine that's where your breaks came in, because that's where you could go and have a smoke and stuff, and obviously it's just something that stayed in for a long time, because a lot of places you only get one break. Our place, you only get one break.
Really?
Yeah, you don't get I have as many breaks as the one, but you don't have you start work at such a time, and then a couple hours in you can have a 10 or 15 minute break, and then you have your lunch break, and then you got a 10-15 minute break, and then you finish.
See, at my last place, they didn't outline the time that you had them necessarily. So if you just wanted to go, so you would have half an hour, and then you would have 2 15-minute breaks that you could have whenever. But it was usually sort of as long as you didn't, everyone didn't go at the same time.
Yeah.
Whenever you want to, and it's not not in the first hour of your shift, and it's not in the last hour, because don't take the piss. But other than that, it's just sort of if you want to go for a walk or go for a smoke or something like that, fill your boots. Whereas in this new place, I just think it's too small of an operation. I just don't think they'd care anyway. I think that because I could just go and do whatever I want to. I mean, to be fair, because it's such a small place and they're all so cool. If you just sort of
smoke.
No, actually, only one person does.
All right, good hell.
Which for a little office like that surprised me, because at the job, not my last job, the job before that, pretty much everybody did. And that was sort of an officey kind of environment, and it just felt again, it was a social thing, and everyone would sort of be able to go out and catch up, and you'd end up talking to people that you'd never usually see during work, because you'd go and have a little smoke.
Yeah.
But this place, I'm pretty sure, if I know for a fact that if I just went, not feeling it, I'm just going to go home, they'd be like, yeah, sure. That's it. Because they trust that you're an adult, and that if you can't come in and do the job properly, or you need to leave early, whatever, you've got a good reason to do it.
We're not there yet. Yeah, anyway, enough about places that we shouldn't be talking about. I want to talk about The Boys, Dan. Amazon Prime's The Boys, a.k.a. the best season of most shows.
No, that has been out this year.
Yeah. With the exception of a couple of things. But
Strange New World.
It's pretty good, Dan. even though I was really annoyed when you text me the other day saying you hadn't caught up on Strange New Worlds, and then I text you and say, yeah, I know you haven't. It was because I put that secret episode.
Yeah, so Callum, I don't think we ever put up Starcom, did we?
No, we didn't in the end.
I think there was a plan to, but it was just like, so basically Callum put together sort of like a 5-6 minute video, which was a bunch of like extracts from the Next Generation, where, because like it's at times it's a really funny show.
Yeah, it's got some
like
funny
they
bits,
it's like really sarcastic or dry wit, or it's just Data just being an idiot or whatever. And he made this sitcom that was based on all the funny bits from Next Generation, and it kind of works with a laughter track as well. It's all the Big Bang Theory do, and they fucking get away with it.
A lot more effort went into this than an episode of the Big Bang
for sure,
Theory.
for sure. But there was it was an intro, which was just like it was kind of just the Next Gen thing. But I think, was it like a sort of like a pan in sort of like, you know, there'd be like Deanna Troy sort of going like.
No,
like that kind of stuff, and like I can't remember how it started.
The original intro was it was actually outtake bloopers, so it was like Picard and people laughing because they'd fuck something up, and then it would stop. So when it was so it'd be like starring, and then it would freeze, and it was like a pop out of them. I didn't use that for this one. That was for like the original pilot episode. Was just one scene, and it was like
it's when he's reading those notes from like I can't remember what the the episode is, but it's like a species that's like super like, oh, we're into like rules and regulations and laws, and you have to like subsection blah blah blah, and he's just reading off this list of like pertaining to subsection 1, and there's just like Riker in the background just like like it's like all reaction shots and stuff like that, and when you add in the laughter track, it's like, yeah, that's ridiculous, isn't it? Like the fact that he read that out and acted like that this was like a legitimate thing, it's mental. But he did the intro from Strange New Worlds and then put that in afterwards, and I was really annoyed because I thought it was the newest episode, and then it was just that, and I was fucking livid, mate. I was livid.
But the irony being, it was you that gave me the idea to do it.
Did I?
Yeah, so when the first episode of Strange New Worlds came out, we had our shared account for using a VPN service to access American shows. And
oh my god, are we sponsored by VPN this week?
They're sponsored by NordVPN.
NordVPN or whatever.
It has to be now because we both said it.
Yeah.
But when I said to you because I can't remember the reasoning as to why, but I remember we did it through Plex because it was easier, and you'd said what would have been funny is if like you said, oh, it's Strange New Worlds, and then I put it on and it wasn't. It was a different episode of Star Trek.
Oh no, that was it. No, you're right. Well, you're kind of right, but you'd put it in as Discovery.
Yes.
So you told me that it was Discovery, and I was like, oh, the new season of Discovery. Oh, that's fun. I haven't had a chance to watch that yet. And then when I went into it, and it was the first episode of Strange New Worlds, I could not believe it. Like, the complete opposite of what happened when you've done this Starcom bullshit to me. But, like, because I had no idea that was just, like, it was out at that point, because I was just sort of, like, being able to watch it with, like, everything being taken off Netflix and stuff like that is really tricky at the moment. So I just wasn't expecting it at all, and I was just like, if you'd have done, maybe that was it. So I was like, if you'd have taken like the intro for Discovery and like or change the name or something like that in the title of it, and I'd have just played that, and then it would have just been like Dong Strange New Worlds. It would have just, I would never have seen it coming in a million years. And you basically did the exact same thing, but fucked me over.
Yeah, so instead of being really happy, you're really fucking angry.
Yeah, I was just like, I can't believe it.
But I will say, do you know how hard it was to get it? So on the like where the files go from the server, it does an automatic thumbnail based on a time. And do you know how hard it was to get the fucking...
You got it from like the just the badge thing, yeah.
It took me fucking ages to do that. And then to sync it up.
I always appreciate the effort that anyone goes to annoy somebody else.
It was well worth
it's
it.
commitment, and I love it. Yeah.
'Cause
Anyway, not Star Trek.
When I was about Star Trek, talking about The Boys, season 3 is been and done. Just a if you hadn't guessed already, spoilers for the Boys season 3, and maybe 2 and 1 if we decide to talk about any episodes of that.
Or maybe Strange New Worlds, as we'll probably come back to that at some point as well.
Starcom, because the first episode hasn't gone up yet. But no, I loved it. I loved this season of The Boys, but I don't think it was the best one. But I think I
disagree. I think that this, like, the first one just sort of took me off guard, I think, because of, like other than Preacher, like, Amazon hadn't really made, like, an original show that I was, like, actively looking forward to. And I think you must have read the comics and said that, they're doing this or whatever. And I wasn't expecting what it actually was. Kind of like in the same way that Invincible is, I guess. Like, when it starts out, it just seems like it's like standard Warner Brothers animated Justice League canon fodder stuff until the end of that first episode, when he just wipes everyone out. And I was like, oh shit! Like, this is a way different show than I thought it was. Yeah, for sure. And like, it's because it just starts with like just Huey and Robin just being sort of like kind of an interesting kind of couple, and then whoop, dead. Like, that was just that. I was just like, oh my god! It was like when I watched the first episode of The Walking Dead, like back in the day, and like he just shoots that girl for the head. I was like, oh dang, this is like they set the tone very early on, and The Boys so far, season to season, they've set the tone for that season pretty much.
It's maintained
in the
more
first
than
episode.
A lot of other shows have.
Yeah, I don't think I've enjoyed something as consistently. Like, that's I'm genuinely interested and excited to see
I think even
what
Preacher
they do next.
Faltered. Preacher was excellent and I loved it, but I don't think it had. Like, this was, like I say, we're 3 seasons into this, and each season is arguably as good as the previous one. Mm-hmm. And whereas Preacher was excellent, but it had a few stinkers. Like, there wasn't necessarily bad episodes. It was just like, like after last week's, I expected a bit more this week.
Yeah.
But I still love it. I think Preacher's excellent. If you haven't watched it, massively recommend it. But I don't know. I honestly don't know what it is. I think it's the kind of the disbanding of the boys this season, and I didn't dislike it by any means. Like I say, I loved it. I think it was an excellent season, but between that and the what I thought lackluster final episode, and again, not bad as in what a shit episode that was. It was great. It was really good. I just expected more, and that's on me as much as it is that it is Amazon, and who makes the boys? Obviously, Amazon pays for it, but is there a studio behind it that we know of?
There must be. I couldn't tell you off the top of my head as to who it is, though. Because it doesn't. It seems like it's like HBO quality.
Well, this is.
But I don't think that even they would make something as like nudity, violence. Like, that seems like it's their kind of wheelhouse. But even this is just sort of like a guy has a knife go through the side of his head, and then he gets his head covered in a and then he just gets his head crushed by a shield. And then, and they show it all.
Yeah. Do you want to see the inside of a man's penis up close? You fucking got it, such.
Do you want to see a guy who's had his entire jaw blown off and chokes to death on his own blood? Yeah, we'll show you that. Don't worry about it.
There's so much in it. So much, and this is why I mean, compared to the comics, this is tame as balls compared to the comics. But
this is it, right? I think because if you want longevity for this show, because it does seem to get I don't know anyone who's watched The Boys who goes, I didn't really get much out of it. Like, everyone's just like, oh my god, this is insane.
Yeah.
But I just think that if you went, this has got to be the biggest, we're going to put all the budget into this one fight, and it's going to be Homelander and Soldier Boy, and all the boys all V'd up, and they're all going to smash the living shit out of each other. What do you do next season that's going to beat that?
This is why we said before, in the comics, they've got V from the get-go, and it's a temporary thing, and from what I can remember, it doesn't give them powers per se. It just gives them super strength, and it allows them to go toe to toe.
Nothing specific.
Yeah, and but it's Frenchie that cooks it up, so it's like a specialised version of it, and that's great and it works in the comic. But I don't want that every episode of The Boys.
Well, this is, I think they've been quite clever with what they've done.
Very
like
clever
exactly that, just saying like you get 4 goes and then you're dead. But my thinking is though, so Starlight just managed to walk back into. I mean, again, they kind of closed that loop quite quickly because they've said like, right, Starlight's out of the 7 now. She's binned it off. She won't just be allowed back in there. But she basically just walked into a lab, picked up permanent V, and brought that back for Kamiko. And she got that injected and boop, powers her back. All I can think of is, well, if Butcher's, I don't know, because then maybe that's it, because like that's the get out of jail free card. It's just like, yeah, I'll be a suit for a bit, but then it wears off, and then I'm just a normal guy. So I need to do it to beat the guy. But if I make it permanent, well, then am I just going to be exactly like them? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I suppose. I mean, I imagine Butcher's. You know, I'm gonna die. Fuck it, whatever. But
yeah,
I can't see him. I can only see him being happy with it if he's managed to succeed in the goal. Because if he goes for all this and he dies and Homelander doesn't, then everything he's done has been for nothing.
Yeah.
I'm not happy with Black Noir at all.
I agree. I think that just fist through him, and that's it. He's just dead. Like, because he was just set up as like especially like for the first couple of seasons, he was just this like completely silent, like he kicks the living shit out of Kamiko, and he was just like this unstoppable. It's like, oh, you know, like even Homelander's just sort of like, oh, thank God you're here to back me up.
Yeah.
Like he's that powerful and that sort of strong and scary. He's the Batman, but with Superman's strength kind of stuff. Do you know what I mean? And like they did such cool stuff with him where he's just like, oh, he's completely traumatized, and he's invented these characters to just kind of like keep his mind occupied, which is why he's always kind of like not really paying attention. I bet if you went back and you were just like imagining that he's just seeing cartoons or whatever, I bet that that would just play really easily into everything.
Yeah, you could probably pick things out, like they're talking about something and they're looking over there, and he's
looking over there, yeah.
Like bobbing away.
He's just having a little sing-song or whatever, yeah. And then they did that whole thing with like, you know, how he got scarred and burnt up and all that kind of stuff. And then it wasn't like a kill that was just sort of like oh my God, I can't believe he killed him. Which, like, for Homelander that we've seen so far is he's sort of like losing his mind more and more. Yeah. As soon as anyone is like face to face with him, or I'm always thinking, is he just going to kill this person? Yeah. Is he just going to crack and that's it? Like, remember the Daredevil fella? Yeah. Like, out of nowhere, he just whoop, and he just like crushes his head. I like, yeah, like it was just that, and you didn't see it coming because why would you have expected it?
Yeah, there was no reason for him to do it. He was there to audition for to be in the 7.
Exactly, yeah.
He was a genuine like he would have been a very useful addition to the team,
but not against him.
Yeah, so it's just like that.
Yeah. But like that I didn't see coming. But like the Noir thing, I was just sort of like, oh, it looks like he's probably just going to kill him here, and then he did.
You knew what was going to happen. It was, like I say, you could tell straight off. But his Black Noir is a lot more important in the comic, a lot more important. And this is like, I mean, I could tell you this bit because it's obviously not going to happen now because they killed him off.
I already know.
You already know.
I know about that specific element of the comic, yes.
So,
but again, I don't think that is relevant to the show at all because of what they've already shown.
This is what I mean. Like the second they showed him unmasked, when he was part
in the payback,
as payback, he was like, well, obviously not going down that route. But this is why this episode in particular is so far removed from the comics, because we are nearing the end. Like the next season's got to be the last season, realistically. Might not be. I hope it's not. But
no, I think that with how they've ended this one, like Homelander's not a figure that's like this, you know, Superman figure anymore. He's going to be a completely divided thing. There's going to be like clearly like the sort of the Trump supporter sort of like, oh my God, yeah, kill them all sort of thing, and then there's going to be people like, wait, you just go around killing people now? That's not okay.
That's not superhero.
So Yeah, exactly. So he won't be like a corporate puppet anymore, but he will just be presumably like a supervillain of his own volition. Excuse me. But potentially, because at least as far as we've seen so far, Homelander, the Deep, and I think Ashley, are the only ones who would know that Noir is actually dead.
A-Train?
A-Train, that's what I'm thinking of, yeah. So they know that he's dead, but potentially you could still go down that, let's bring him back. No one else would be any the wiser, and you do what they did in the comic. Potentially, but I've got a feeling that with like how many sort of like people have already talked about like the differences between the comic and the show, most people would see that coming from a mile away.
They would.
If they decided to bring him back.
But obviously there was a reason.
Also, there's no precedent for it at this point, is there?
That's what I mean. It wouldn't have made... If they had turned around and done like the Black Noir we saw in all these flashbacks isn't the same as this one. Like if they'd have done stuff like that, but it wouldn't make any sense. And I say I don't want to go into too much, obviously, people who haven't read the comics, but do you know the bit about the confrontation in the comics with Black Noir, Homelander, and Butcher?
No.
So, wait, just in case we do go down that road in the show,
okay.
So I'll leave that out.
But think about it, right? Because, like, remember in the first season of Westworld, when at the end of the season, it turns out that we were actually watching two different periods of time.
Yeah.
So if we'd seen all the payback stuff and we'd seen like Soldier Boy's team and Black Noir and how all of that happened, and then we got Homelander and Black Noir, and he goes to put his fist through him and then he can't because of that other thing, that would have come out of absolutely nowhere, and that would have been a great twist, because they would go, well, no, all the shit we were showing you from like the 80s or whatever, well, that was this other guy.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
There's not been any connection between the two. Do you know what I mean?
Well, they did it. So, have you watched Despicable yet? The cartoon, the boys' cartoon. Yeah. So, like when they do the episode when Homelander joins the Seven, and he is like a bit naive, and he wants to be a superhero and stuff, and he doesn't like Black Noir very much, but Black Noir obviously helps him through it, and it gives you that impression that Black Noir's got him from there to where he is in present day. But I don't know, like it seemed like he wasn't that fussed to kill him, even though like you said, like he's obviously upset he lied to me, blah blah blah.
Yeah. I mean, I like that reveal. That I thought that was a cool thing, that they were just like, oh, Soldier Boy's actually your dad. And then I think it's a testament to how similar these characters are supposed to be. You know, they're kind of both pricks and they're both the most powerful beings or whatever. But when it gets to it, and Butcher's like convinced, like after he learns about who he is, Butcher's still like, well, what does that matter?
Yeah.
Like, he's still a prick and you still need to take him out. And he's like, do you know what? Fair enough. And like, nothing matters. Yeah, and he's just sort of like, well, I'll still kill you then. And his son's getting in the way, and he's like, you can fuck off as well. Yeah. And like, the reaction that Homelander has to that is that it's like, that's my kid. Yeah. Like, they like, because of what he's had taken away from him from when he was a child. Now, potentially, now that Ryan's kind of with him and he's going to be on his side, I don't think we'd see like him turning in, like, going, oh my god, what have I been doing all this time?
No.
But I think he'll actually become like, still like a super villain, psychotic, but good dad.
Yeah.
So he'll be doing all the wrong things, but for the right reasons.
Yeah, have you watched Arcane?
No.
On Netflix.
Netflix thing.
Yeah, League of Legends thing. Like, I don't like League of Legends at all, but it's so, honestly, you'll love it. It's amazing. But the main antagonist in that has a similar thing where he's an absolute utter fucking twat. But the love he shows for one of the characters that he ends up like semi-adopting, everything he does is for her, and he does genuinely care about her. And it's a similar, obviously there's loads of shows and movies that do it as well, but it was that moment where Homelander turns his back to both Soldier Boy and Butcher, both of which were there to kill him, but his first reaction is to go straight to Ryan, and they could have killed him then and there. And it was only the fact that Butcher obviously
I did like the fact that they were just sort of like begrudgingly, they were like, yeah, like he's going to kill a kid, and like we can't let that happen.
Not just.
So, I mean, I'm glad they didn't just
kid.
double team up on him. But then like Maeve comes in, and I thought she was a bit. I mean, that was probably the point, I suppose. But she's been a bit useless this season because they just put her in a box somewhere, so she can't really do much. But I think I preferred Homelander fighting Maeve than I did Soldier Boy and Butcher and Starlight and everyone else, like that big sort of team. I think that their little, because of like how much he's harassed her and just been a dick to her, like all of these seasons, she's just sort of finally unloading on him and like gets him bleeding as well. Right. Who else has done that? Apart from probably like Soldier Boy and Butcher when they double team him. but again, that's someone that you'd expect to.
Well, because I've read a lot of things about this where they're like, how like Maeve shouldn't have been able, like he should have like snapped her neck. But he's got no hand-to-hand like combat experience. He's not a fighter. He's not had to do any of this stuff.
Yeah, she's the Wonder Woman.
Yeah,
isn't she?
she's the one that's been doing all the actual superhero stuff. She's been training for like 6 months, and she says that in the show. I'm training,
like specifically to take this guy out,
just to fight Homelander. Maybe I only get 1 or 2 hits in, but you know I'm going to be prepared. And repeatedly through not through the whole fight, but for the start of it and leading on for a little bit more, he doesn't want to fight her, and he's saying, I don't want to do this. And then obviously it's when she draws blood that then he starts. But even then, she still holds her own for a little bit before she loses an eye. But
yeah, that'll do it. That seems to be like, I don't understand why more people aren't exploiting that, because like the same thing with Stormfront, the same thing with the Mind Fella.
Yeah,
get him in the eye and they are usually fucked up.
Anyone, like even Homelander, like when she puts the fucking pipe through his
god
ear.
I mean, that's what I mean, like that's why that fight to me was just like, that was the better one, or it had more meaning behind it,
there's
because
more depth and emotion in.
Yeah, it'd been building to that, and it felt scrappier.
Yeah.
But when like he's just kicking shit out of her, and she just grabs that pipe and just turns around and just goes pow right in his ear, I felt that. I was like, oh, that one fucking hurt. And like all of the the choreography and the stunt work that has gone on in this season alone it's amazing.
Yeah, it's been real good, really good.
Like when they're just like, when Soldier Boy and that are just like, they're just battering people and they're going like flying through cabinets and walls and stuff like that. It looks like people are taking an absolute beating. Like I bet that some of these stunt people, they're getting up, it's like, okay, now that one.
On Anthony Starr's Twitter, on his Instagram, there's a lot of behind the scenes stuff like the wire work and that, like that one with the bookcase with when it's Butcher, Soldier Boy and Homelander and Huey. Mm-hmm. The bit when he flies at him and puts him through the thingy, like that is Anthony Starr and Jensen Ackles. I always think I say his name wrong. Supernatural guy.
Jensen Ackles. Yeah.
It is those two doing it, and then he's like basically got him by the shoulders. They're both on wires, and then they just like he throws him into the fucking cabinet, and then they stop, and then they're like cut. And then Anthony Starr's in, he just like pats him on the shoulder. He's like, "You good?" He's like, "Yeah." And they just walk off. But it looks really fun. Like there's a really funny blooper, and I think it's from season 2. I think the blooper's from. But you've got it'll be season 1, because I can't remember her name.
Oh, the
CEO,
whoever Ashley replaced.
Yeah. They're walking. Homelander, her, and Ashley are walking down a corridor. And he's got their stupid eagles.
Oh, and he gets that eagle caught on the lamp. And he's like,
so funny.
Like that whole all of the behind the scenes stuff and the trailer stuff leading up to it. It seems that everyone in that cast, presumably, hopefully, it's the crew as well, but they all seem to be having an absolute fucking blast.
But why not?
Though?
It
shows because they've all got great chemistry, and obviously we've had sort of other little stories. So we've got Kamiko and Frenchie kind of starting their relationship, and then we've got this little Nina who's been brought in, who I think is going to be, she's going to come back in season 4, and she's going to be a bigger part in that. Especially now that Kamiko's got her powers back as well. But again, that's a great lesson for that she couldn't be happier that she'd lost these powers, and she's like, oh my god, I can finally we can actually make this work now. We can be together. And then they just get fucking wailed on by these Russians, and she's like, it's the shittiest thing that's ever happened, but I need to get them powers back because, I can't let this happen again. So, like, they've got their little thing. Like, Mother's Milk is, like, he's trying not to be sucked into any of this again. And then, like, his daughter's stepdad is just sort of, like, slowly kind of, like, being... Yeah, like, he's being brainwashed into, like... Even when he sees him literally explode a dude's head in front of him, he's like, that's the guy I'm behind. Yeah. I support that guy. Like, it's... So, like, the fact that he managed to just, like, knock him out in one punch. Like, that's the thing. Like, he's been held back. But that's the thing. Like, you've seen him, like, he's getting ready to go in and everyone's always dragging him back because he's just going to go in and he's just going to get clocked and he's going to go... His head's going to explode immediately. Like, the fact that he didn't use V this season, I think they've saved, like, him, Frenchie, maybe Simon Pegg. Like, he's going to come back and they'll give him a bit of V and he'll do some ass kicking as well. But, like, so you've had Butcher and Huey are basically just, like, they've had their go of it and, they've done some serious damage with it and you know what their powers are. But in the next one, I reckon they're like MM and Frenchie would probably they'll get a blast of it as well. Yeah. Or they'll turn it into like an inhaler or something like that, so it's maybe not as dangerous or something.
A bit more concentrated.
Because maybe something like that, just to kind of work on the concept of it. But then, like, with like Starlight and Huey, like, their relationship's kind of like falling apart a bit because of like this temporary V and like this constant, like, I don't want to have you saving me kind of thing.
Save you for a change.
Yeah, and it's just sort of like, it's like a weird toxic masculinity. It's just sort of like, well, I'm the guy and I need to come in and do it. Yeah. But instead, like, it gets to the final part where she can come in and do some damage, and he's just like, I can take this last shot, potentially kill myself, and I can go in and teleport about a bit, or I can just give her some extra juice and she can go in and...
Do you think he would have had the same rational thinking had he got another one after this one? So say... He'd only taken it once.
If he had like another couple of doses
so
left.
He'd only taken it once, and he knew he couldn't take it more like 5 times, whatever it was. But this would only be his second time. Do you think he would have thought about, if I just turn this power?
I don't know.
Because realistically, what's he going to do? Just teleport her out of the way?
But that's the thing. Like, he has never been, like, he's not been the physical force of the boys. Like, all of them are way better and more competent than he is. So it makes sense that he doesn't have Homelander strength. Like, do you know what I mean? It'd just be wasted on him. So something where he can just sort of like the Flash in Justice League, he can just sort of pop in and pop out, and he doesn't really have to get involved in any of the big bad stuff. But like like, I reckon he would get like, he'd turn into stone, or like he'd just be like a giant
Colossus or something like that. And
for sure, like, I reckon that's like, he'd be like his ultimate protector mode, whereas Butcher's like ultimate aggressor mode.
Yeah.
Like, he's just sort of like, he can laser and stuff like that. I swear to God, if they gave him the ability to fly as well, Homelander wouldn't have made it. He would have taken off, and he would have been straight after him and caught him and thrown him back into that room.
That would have been a cool thing if, like, when he does break up, when they're all piled on him, and then he flies off, and if the camera followed him up a bit, and it's just like, come here, you can't, and just drags him back down again. That would have been real good.
I think that, like... I think that fight, like that first one where, like, because Homelander, through all the seasons so far up until that point, no one had come even close to being a threat to him. So then, like, when Butcher lasers him and knocks him over, he's like, wait, what the fuck? And then, like then they're both, like, piling on him, and he can't deal with it. Like you say, like, Maeve is obviously, like, she's specifically training and fighting to be able to take this guy on. He has no idea what to do because he's always been the biggest, best, strongest, whatever.
All he's ever had to do is just fly somewhere, laser it, and fly away
Zap
again.
him.
That's all he's ever had to do.
Yeah, and that's it. He's completely, like, bullet... Like, no one can touch him at all. And he can just laser them or fly them into space. Or, like, apparently, as we found out in this season, he's got, like, X-ray vision and stuff like that as well.
See through the mask.
So, it turns out he has got, like, Superman's entire power list. But it's kind of it stems back a bit to Man of Steel, where, like, Superman is the most powerful man in the world, until other Kryptonians turn up, and they go, "Oh,
they got the same powers.
They know how to fight properly, and you don't." So, like, you've managed, presumably because he's been exposed to the sun longer and he's more powerful.
Yeah.
But I reckon that if they had like equal footing, he wouldn't have stood a chance. They would have just wiped the fuck out of him.
For all the negatives it gets, I think Man of Steel did a good job of the Superman trope of what do you do with the most powerful person in the fucking, well, on the planet rather than the universe, but give him enemies that are better. So, like you say, like if they all landed at the same time and they'd all been on Earth as long as Kal-El had, he probably would have just got absolutely fucking obliterated.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think that's probably one of the worst things about Krypton as a show is there's nothing super about it.
I didn't watch any of that.
I'll be honest, I never finished the first season. Apparently, Lobo makes it.
Let me guess. Cancelled.
I would assume it was. It was on Sci-Fi, so most likely was. But Lobo made it into, I think, season 2. And I kept meaning to go back and just watch that season because I was like, that he looked pretty cool. Like they did a decent job of him visually, but it was a good Superman show that was more Star Trek. It was very Rogue One-esque in feeling, maybe a little bit Blade Runner as well, and it was fine. But it was just every possible opportunity. This is a red cape. That's the same red cape that my granddad had, or my grandson will have, whatever, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
I'm from the future. I've actually been on Earth.
But that's
it's like
that's why I hate all of those shows when it's just sort of like it's everything around the thing that's actually the interesting part.
Yeah.
Because it's the same as like there's the like it's the same with Gotham and Alfred.
Gordon.
What's the Pennyworth?
Alfred.
Yeah, but the show
Pennyworth. Yeah.
Yeah. But again, it's like I don't care about what the fucking Butler was doing. Like in all the years before Batman became Batman, I want Batman, and that's it.
That was
like at least the Batman Gotham TV show. That is at least. It's not sort of like maybe bats. Maybe that's a scary thing in 10 years. Where a thing like it's like that's parallel to what's actually going on. So whilst I don't think probably Robert Pattinson probably isn't going to show up in it, but like getting a Riddler or a Joker or something like that in Arkham, like I think that's well within the realms of possibility.
Well, that was
so like
what happened with Gotham, though, wasn't it? Like it started off where it was like it's not a Batman show. This is a show about Gordon. Everyone loves Gordon. It's like nobody liked Gordon. Like, I don't want to watch a show about Gordon. And then season 2 onwards, it went more into leaning into the Batman world and building it, and it worked for the better. And I did enjoy it 2 onwards. And I think, like you say, I think that this new show will have. Hopefully they'll learn from the mistakes that Pennyworth made and Gotham made, and fucking Gotham Knights, whenever the fuck that comes out, will inevitably make.
It's like December, like October, November, something like that. I think it's
CW bullshit.
Oh, the TV show. I think the game.
No,
I've forgotten about
the
that.
Gotham Knights TV show that's got nothing to do with the Gotham Knights game.
Well, Titans again
Titans, that's another good one.
But that's something that hasn't shied away from. It's not like, it's the Titans cleaning crew, or it's Dick Grayson before he becomes Robin. Like, no one wants to see that. They want to see him in the costumes, kicking shit out of people. And that's pretty much what they do.
And they do it well.
For the most part, yeah. Except, again, when you look at something like The Boys and you're just sort of like, oh, God, if only you had the money to be able to do it properly.
That's what I was literally about to say. Like, if you had a team of people, I mean, they're all talented people. If you had the same creative team that The Boys has got and Stranger Things has got, and the money that The Boys has got and Stranger Things has got, Titans could be genuinely could be a phenomenal show. And
yeah, I think so.
I think the biggest mistake they made is realistically probably having Beast Boy, where it's the effects, the CGI for the animals is awful. And
Animal,
he's done 2.
Oh, he's been a snake as well. Yeah, you're right. But again, like I think that's probably why Cyborg isn't in it, because they're like, oh god, like a whole robot fella, like with lasers and stuff like that. That's expensive.
They did it in fucking hell, what's the other one? Doom Patrol. Then it looked
But
shite.
again, it's just a dude with like just a thing on half his face. Again, for the most part, for what it is, it's fine.
Yeah, it looks okay.
But it's not them running around fighting all the time, is it? They're like in weird like dimensional things, and it's just all. It's not just like fighting bad guys.
But I don't
Whereas
get why.
Titans, that's a big element of it.
And because of how much it is a big part of the show, why have him as a tiger? You could pick any animal. You could pick a much smaller animal that would be easier to animate. A pigeon, that'll fucking do. I mean, his go-to.
You just fly around and spy on things or whatever.
I'm assuming, obviously, he's going to build up to his gorilla and stuff, which is his go-to fighting thing. But start off, if that's where they're going to go, start off with like just a little monkey, something that's like relatively simple to animate. And to be fair, they could just fucking mocap that. Just got to walk around like a monkey for a bit, haven't they? And it'd be a bit like the animation.
Again, if you're not going to do it properly, then just maybe don't do it.
Well, that's what I mean. Like, and everything
Change
else.
him out for what's the face? Fucking Bumblebee.
Bumblebee.
Just shrink down and fly about a bit.
Oh right, yeah. Sorry, I thought you were on about the show. I was like, Bumblebee. What? I don't remember a Bumblebee show.
No. I just mean as in like
yeah.
like it's just like an East Coast Titans character. So like, Speedy or something like that. Do you know what I mean? Right, you just go. Well, we've got a fighter and an archer. That's easy enough to animate.
Done.
If you're not going to go properly in with the animal stuff, then don't put him in because like that's literally the best part of his character.
Well, do you know what I found out? Have you watched Baymax yet on Disney Plus?
I watched the first one and decided that I hated it, so I haven't gone back and watched any of the others.
It's got some funny bits in, but it's not Big Hero.
I did not realise that it was like a 6-minute sort of skit comedy thing, and I was like, I'm not up for this at all.
It's just like the new one of Doug Days, where it's just a collection of shorts.
It's a shorts
thing, that's what I mean.
Which is fine, but you release it at the same time as the film. Then, like, why would you release it? What, 5 years later?
Yeah, with not a rumbling of a sequel. But do you know who voices Hero in Big Hero 6 and in Baymax, the short series?
I don't know because I only saw that it was Baymax and his aunt. Hero's aunt.
Basically, Hero comes in at the end of each one. Hero comes home and he's like, "Hey, Baymax," and he's just like,
"Oh, he doesn't in the first one because I think she mentions him, but
literally the end of the episode."
Then honestly, mate, I may not have even made it to the end. Then, if that's the case,
it could have been like the credits started for a little bit. I'm not going to say post credits thing, but like started for a little bit and then it jumps into that, and it's gotcha. Always, except with the exception of the second to last one and the last one, Baymax is doing something. So one of them, he helps a girl at this talent show thing, and she's doing this yo-yo stuff, and Hero's on the computer and Baymax is like over here, and he should be on charge asleep, and and every time Hero turns around he's asleep, and then he'll like open one eye, and then he's got a yo-yo, he's like it's just silly things. Anyway, Beast Boy from Titans is Hero.
Oh really?
Yeah. I forgot his name now off the top of my head, but it came up, and I was like, wait a minute, and I rewound it. I was like, I recognise that name, and I googled it and went, that's fucking Beast Boy. So there you go. And he voices him in the film, in the cartoon, and in the shorts.
Well done. That's getting Disney voiceover work on your resume.
Well,
that's a good thing, isn't it?
It's got quite.
Actually, speaking of Thor, Love and Thunder,
I have not watched it. I've not been to see it yet.
Talk about that,
otherwise we wouldn't be talking about the boys, Dan.
I think I would still be talking about the boys. I preferred the boys season 3 to Thor, 100%.
I've heard similar things, but I haven't been to see it yet, so I cannot.
Yeah, I mean, I'm hoping that you really enjoy it because Ragnarok was incredible.
Yeah, it was never going to be as good as Ragnarok.
No, but I don't even think it's close to.
Is it better than Thor 2?
Yes.
Then it's fine.
It is the second best Thor film. Yes.
Yes, that's okay then. As long as it's better than Thor 1 and Thor 2, that's all I want.
It absolutely is. Yeah.
My expectations aren't up here.
It's not to say that it's bad. It's just that I was expecting something better than it was.
Yeah.
It wasn't. It just we'll cover that when you've actually got around to watching it.
Yeah,
but Callum, shut up, because Stranger Things
not watched
finally came to a close.
No, I have.
What?
Obviously, I finished it before you.
No, we're like the second two that came out in July.
Yeah, like the other week.
Yeah. I wasn't sure if you'd actually got around to it or not.
Yeah, because I text you said, have you finished Strange Things yet? And I said, yeah, I did them yesterday. And you went, I haven't got around to watching them yet. I was like, I assumed you hadn't because you haven't texted me and gone, have you finished Stranger Things?
Oh, right, okay. Well, we won't talk for much longer because we've got other things to do this evening. And this was primarily just going to be a boys' wankathon.
And then we're going to talk about the boys.
Stranger Things fucking killed it this season. That's pretty much all I can say about it. Like, I don't think there's a single element of it that I disliked. Like, the new characters that they've added in, like Eddie Munson and like the surfer fella, like everything about that show. I mean, I get why they are bankrupting themselves, like making this show, because they just pour so much money and effort into it, and fuck me, it pays off.
The only thing I disliked, it's not a bad thing. I still loved it. So the last episode was like 2 hours 35 minutes or something like that. But
yes.
The back end of the season, the back end of the episode felt very rushed. To just get, I need to get to this point now before we get to the end of the episode. And considering how long it was, it didn't feel like they had to do that. But
which is interesting because, like you say, it's like 2.5 hours, and I think the other one was 2 hours or something like that. It still felt like it was 40 minutes long.
Yeah, the pacing was decent, and it was
insane.
There was an article by, I think it was Collider, that popped up on my Google News, and it said basically people were whinging because of a plot hole in this season. And
it wouldn't surprise me it would surprise me more if they weren't.
Well, the plot hole that they were complaining about was, where did the sword come from that Hopper had? Like, they told you like a few episodes ago they got to choose fucking weapons.
Yeah, there was literally an armory. It was like they showed it on the floor because it was a thing. Although it's obviously it's just like he's a D&D character with a sword killing a demon. Like, of course, it's like a weird callback.
All of the weapons, it was like swords and
it was sticks and maces and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's what all of the weapons was. So
also, I love the fact that the fella with the beard, because I was just sort of like, why is he getting so much play in this? And it's because he's really funny and he knows karate and he can use that flamethrower like a motherfucker. Like when he's just on that thing going, ah!
I love Murray.
That's amazing.
I think Murray's such a good character. There's a
such a weird one to bring back and like make into a thing, but I'm so glad they did.
Him and Joyce had the dynamic thing.
Yeah, that whole little adventure.
Last season anyway, didn't they? So it was just playing more into that and making it a bigger.
Oh, I don't remember. I only remember him being sort of like in his weird, like sort of weird conspiracy theory house.
Yeah, because he ends up doing like a lot of stuff. Obviously, it's Jonathan and my second only to Emma Stone lover, Natalie Dorman. No, Natalie Dyer. Natalie Dorman's somebody else from the Tudors. I love it. No, it's Natalia, isn't it? Natalia Dyer.
Are you talking about Nancy?
Yeah.
Right, okay.
Who is with Jonathan in real life. Now, I just want to say, Jonathan in real life, get the fuck out of it. She's out of your league. She wants a hairy, tattooed podcast presenter.
Don't we all?
But no, but obviously they're the ones that go to him and they rope him into fucking everything when they end up there. But he knows Hopper, doesn't he? Like, he's had prior things, like before Stranger Things is a thing. So they have history. But yeah, I like him. I think Murray's an excellent character. He's funny. He seems more brave this time round. Like, I've seen way worse things than these fucking Russians have got fucking cooking up here. Like, I've seen the shit that's going on in Hawkins. I liked the fact that Brenner was back. I thought they did that well. Everything about this season, down to the soundtrack, down to everything. Although I fell out with. I did fall out. That's an exaggeration. Who said like they don't like Kate Bush? I was like, how can you not like Kate Bush? That's fucking ridiculous. And they're like, I just don't like her. Like because of Stranger Things, because Running Up That Hill's been overplayed. That's why you don't like it. No, just not like it. So,
I mean, I couldn't name you a single Kate Bush song, so I would.
Babushka.
No.
Wuthering Heights.
That's a book.
It's a song as well.
It's also Wuthering Heights, but sure.
based on the play.
Right.
But yeah, I love Kate Bush. But my mum loved Kate Bush, so I grew up listening to.
Okay, fair enough.
I like her though because she was weird as fuck. So you'd have like
I'm a bit annoyed.
That, but
speaking of the music, because obviously I think like that as a song choice, like bring her back into the fine. It was a good song choice, but I'm really annoyed that they showed Robin and Eddie pissing about in his room looking for music to distract all the demobats, I think they're called, and she's like, oh my god, there's no music in here, and he picks up an Iron Maiden cassette and he goes, this is music. And then he gets on the fucking trailer with Dustin and he plays Master of Puppets, and I was like, you son of a bitch.
I mean, to be fair, I'd choose Metallica over Iron Maiden every time, but
well, you're wrong.
It fits better. Name me one Iron Maiden song that would have worked in that scene.
The Trooper.
As well as Master
Children
of
of the Damned.
Nah, they're good songs, but they haven't got the same impact as that.
You're an idiot.
Plus, the lyrics tie into what's happening. The puppets, the demobats are the puppets, and he's taking them away from their master.
I'm sure I could find something similar.
That was another thing people were complaining about on Reddit, and during the...
Well, it was too on the nose.
No. That when Master of Puppets came out, because people are sad.
Oh yeah, I saw that. It was like 2 months before when this is actually set. So how did he learn it? So quickly?
Well, it was like he'd have like 2 weeks to learn it or something like that. But like someone pointed out, they're like, I was of a certain age when Master of Puppets came out, and because we didn't have the internet and we didn't have all this other stuff, we'd hear a song.
You had to learn it.
Yeah, and you just keep listening to it until you can play it. And he said, he goes, I probably did it in about 4 or 5 days, maybe. I learned it.
Because yes, you don't have the internet, but you also don't have the internet. So what else are you supposed to do with your time if you're into music and you play the guitar? Yeah. Of course, you're going to listen to it again and again and again and again and again until it's... Yeah, of course you are. And there's also a behind the scenes video of him literally playing it. Well, he's just practicing it. Like he legit plays it. He knows exactly how to play it.
He plays all of the song except for the solo, and the solo is played by I can't remember his name, but he's the bassist in Metallica. It's his son. He plays the solo.
No, wait, Kirk. Hammond, is it?
No. It's. I'll edit it in. I'll put it at the bottom. But
sure.
Why you wouldn't just get thinking to play it? I don't know, but I suppose it's quite cool having your son playing the solo of your song in the biggest show in the world.
Yeah,
it's pretty good. But
I mean, to be fair, I'm a bit annoyed that they didn't kill off more people, but I am annoyed that they killed him off. Because I was like, I really like that guy. He grew on me so quick.
He was a great character, and I think it was
I thought he was a right prick at the start, where he seems like he's a bit of a bully, and he's kind of like forcing but then like as soon as he's sort of like on the run, and he just sort of like, oh no, he's just kind of like a normal dude, and he's like, his uncle's not like, oh, he's a fucking con or whatever.
Yeah.
He's genuinely upset, and he's just sort of like, no one will believe that he's not a killer, and he's not a demon worshipper or whatever. Also, I love the fact that the jock leader football fella he's like, oh,
he got killed.
Like that, just sort of like, just cut him in half. Like, just barely paying attention to him. He just happens to just be lying on the floor, and he just got melted.
That was.
I love that. I was just sort of like, there wasn't like some dramatic thing where he like got knocked off a thing, or someone beaten to death, or he shot himself or something like that. It's just like, no, he's dead. I love it. I just thought I was like, fuck you, mate. Like,
I hated him so much. He was
that's the thing.
Worse villain than fucking Banker was.
he was such a good, like, that guy. I cannot wait until something happens to him.
He was a good person in like a good. If you hate a villain, that means they're doing the job
For
right.
sure.
But some of the stuff he didn't make sense. So like with Thinger's sister when she's in like the weird fucking birdcage thing at the park, and like his mate's rugby tackles her. And he's just like, I break your fucking arm and stuff. Like, leave her alone. She's literally a little girl. Leave her alone. And they're going on this fucking murderous fucking rampage, with good reason because obviously his girlfriend died. But
so if you went in there and she was floating, you wouldn't think, hold on, maybe there's some weird interdimensional like things going on. You'd be like, oh, you've done this because you're a part of that weird cult thing, so you're doing this, so stop it now. Like, you'd be saving her. And I'm a bit annoyed that they didn't kill off Max. Not that I've got anything against her, but it's just sort of like,
if you were
commit to it.
That was
do it proper, because I think that would have been like with like Lucas and 11, sort of like in that like remote viewing fight, and they're both just sort of like absolutely just losing their minds because she's dead. That to me was way more impactful than just, and then 2 minutes later she's in the hospital and she's fine.
It was the only thing that was
not fine, but
because she's potentially brain dead at the moment. But
yeah, because like 11 just sort of like force healed her or something.
Well, she heals her up, but when she's in the brain, in her mind, it's just empty. There's nothing.
But that's the thing, because then that's a story beat for the next season where like she's finding Max's like either like her.
That's where he'll be held up. He'll be held up in her consciousness and.
Yeah, or like they're intertwined or something like that. So do you sacrifice one for
Because I thought they were going to do it when you knew what was going to happen. The fact when that guy says he goes, I think you need to come and check this out. I was like, fucking hell, he's going to interrupt it. The plan where they have to do everything in phases. So it was very predictable.
Which was working.
Yeah, but it was, they've got to do something. But it was very predictable.
Although until they went into the house and then got like tentacled up immediately, and I was like, oh, that's great. I love that, the fact that he knows exactly what they were up to, and he's just sort of like, what are you going to do? Like, but he didn't plan for 11 to like piggyback off someone else's like and then come in and stop him in his own mind. Like, I love that, because I was just sort of like, he thinks he's so fucking smart, but that he didn't see it coming at all. That she was just
only
like
smart because obviously he's looking at it through Max, and obviously everything Max knows. He's learned the plan from that, but obviously because 11's not there telling Max this is the plan, this is what we're going to do, he's not aware of it, and it was very clever, very smart how they did it. But you knew the Walkman was going to get broke, and what I want to know is the year's 1986, Dan. What kind of fucking batteries is that Walkman using that she's able
still going
to play all through these fucking episodes?
Because she's always got it on. Like, if she took off her coat and like 50 batteries fell out of her pocket, I'd be like, yep, that makes sense. It's the equivalent of like in an 80s action movie where they're firing a gun and they haven't reloaded yet, and you just let it go because it's just part of the thing. But there will be people 10 years later who'll go, wait a minute, how did that last that long? Like, you're telling me that she sat there and rewound that whole thing, that for as long as it would take to get back to the start of that tape again, he could have gone in and got her.
Yeah, unless she did what a lot of people used to do back in the day, where you'd record
and hum.
You just pretend. No, so you've got on your A side, you've got your song, and on your B side,
and then
you've got the same song.
So when you turn it over, it rewinds.
Yeah, I used to do that a lot.
I mean, that means they'd have to literally make the cassette too. Also, I tell you what, there is one thing that did make me think, hold on a minute, that's like, because again, I thought this season was fucking banging. I loved every minute of it. All of their parents, though, like Mike and Will. I mean, obviously Joyce had fucked off to Russia, so sure, that's fine. So like Will and his brother, like they've gone, and they literally drove like halfway across the country to go and rescue 11. Mike's mom, though, like, she hasn't seen Mike or Nancy for like days.
I mean, to be fair, Nancy doesn't live there anymore. Like, she'd moved for a job and that, hadn't she? So potentially Nancy just.
But she still kept
home.
a gun in her own room.
Yeah, just in case. You never know.
But then, like, Dustin's mom and Lucas's family and that sort of stuff, they just don't seem to mind that, like, all of their kids are just gone.
I mean, maybe.
And again, it's not like you can call them on the phone and be like, yo, where are you? They're like, oh, I'm just in town.
Maybe that'll be the spin-off that they're talking about doing. Like, they haven't said what it's going to be, but maybe it'll just be this season again, but from the view of the parents.
I'd like to see Mike's dad just getting increasingly annoyed by everything. Just in his chair with his big glasses, just sort of like, just going... Just that. I'd love to see that. He's just getting more and more annoyed at his wife, and his wife's just getting more and more annoyed at him. Brilliant.
And almost sleeping with potentially underage kids.
What?
She nearly sleeps with Billy in season 2.
Oh, the mop, yeah. I mean, to be fair, I probably would.
He's a good-looking chap.
If he came out there with that hair and those abs.
And he's a Power Ranger.
And he's a Power Ranger.
So.
I reckon if you were to like bring back like the psychic image of a person like Eddie and Billy, bring them back.
Put them together.
So they can just team up to do some weird psychic vector shit kicking.
I think they should spend this time to clone a hybrid, a Billy and Eddie hybrid.
He'd be unstoppable with that music taste, that energy, and them abs.
That hair, that face, them abs, and just like you said, the full energy that Eddie's got. That'd be a force to be reckoned with. He
for sure.
Wouldn't stand a fucking chance. 11 wouldn't stand a chance.
Yeah, that's a good point. I would like to see that, like, if there's
call it sexy things.
No, I'd like to see if they did like so, you know, obviously this is like the American psychic soldier program or whatever. You know, I want to see the Chinese equivalent, the European one, the Chinese one. Like, so, you know, there might be 11 or 12 or whatever, you know, kids that they've been pissing about with in Hawkins. And then you get like the Russian one, and like, yeah, we've been doing this for like 20 years.
Yeah, all ours are grown up now.
Yeah, like you literally stole like the research and stuff from us. That's how you started it, because you nicked it from us or something like that.
Yeah, potential, because you think they built the arena they've got was built to keep the Demigorgon in. However, they couldn't have built that after they had the Demigorgon. That had to have been done in preparation of. Because where would
so they knew that they were going to go there and grab it and then bring it in.
Yeah, because like I say, otherwise, where would it be kept while they were doing that? They would stick it in a caravan while they're waiting.
They got one of those like raptor cages from Jurassic Park that like lifts up at the front.
I mean, they may have done, but
yeah,
it's. I'd like to see some more delving into that side of it. I don't think we had enough Russia. There was teased a lot. I expected more. I say.
What are you on about? Like Yuri again. What a great character.
Weird,
insane
like,
smuggler guy.
I expected to see more of Hopper being there. So like it made out like it was going to be like almost like a trials type thing. So he fights this Demigorgon now, and we're going to bring this other one. Then he's got to do this one, and then eventually you'll get. But to do the amount of stuff that I made up in my head, it'd have to be a season of just Hopper in Russia.
Yeah, I mean, it did feel though that like the end of this season, it didn't feel like it was the end of the season. It felt like it was the mid-season break.
Yeah.
Because like this whole time, everything has just been explained away by like weird disappearances or like serial wandering murderers or hell cults or whatever. Whereas now it's going to be interesting. Like in the next season, they're going to go like there's a gigantic interdimensional rift across town. Like, can they explain that away anymore?
I mean,
or are they just going to be like, oh, it's all demons and that? I mean, I know that they've said, oh, it's an earthquake, but you're telling me that no one else is just going to go in there and go, this isn't an earthquake? Oh. Or like when, like Pacific Rim style, all the fucking monsters start pouring out of it.
What I don't want to happen, because obviously we've got another 2 years to wait until the next season.
Criminal.
Which means there's going to be another time jump. Now, I don't know how you explain away. Like, it's got to pick up directly where this has left off. Because otherwise, if stuff's only happening now, why the Demigorgons and everything only coming out now. It's been 3 years and the kids are older now.
I don't want it to be like keeping in real time jump. I want it to be a 20-year time jump. I say recast all of them. Like 11 is like a government soldier.
That'd be pretty cool.
She's like single-handedly kind of like holding all of this stuff back, and then like Will and Mike and all that, they're like her support team, but they're like Ghostbusters kind of stuff. Like I'd say adult all of them, and like I want to see what all of this shit leads up to, if this is going to be the last season.
That would be quite cool. We'll soon find out in 2 years' time.
2 years. Although to be fair, it was like 2 or 3 years since the season 3.
Yeah, around about that.
Been
About
that,
2
right?
years, I'd say.
Absolutely worth the wait.
Feels like it as well, though. It doesn't feel.
Yeah,
it doesn't feel like. But we've got to wait 2 years for this one. We didn't have to wait that long for the last one. It definitely feels like we had to wait a long time for it.
Yeah.
But we'll see.
Maybe Netflix won't even exist in a couple of years.
It could happen.
Maybe this is it. This will be their swan song, and then they'll be like, "We're stopping the service because we literally can't afford it anymore."
I reckon stuffing will happen because, I mean, I'm watching Umbrella Academy in a minute, and it's hard going, Dan.
Oh, I haven't even started that yet.
I started watching when season 1 started, and then I just stopped, and then someone was on about it the other day. I was like, oh yeah, the new season's out now, so I think I'll pick up. I got like 4-5 episodes into the first one. Went back.
So you didn't even like finish the second season?
I didn't even finish the first season, but
jeez.
But I was like, yeah, like 4 or 5, maybe even 6 episodes in. Put it back on the other day. Obviously, it picked up where I left off. I was halfway through episode 2.
Fucking hell.
So I was just like, I'll just go back to 1 and literally watch it from the
just start again.
The beginning. Yeah. So I'm on 7 now.
Right.
But nothing happened. There's so much talking, and for a show that's based on a comic book about superheroes, so much talking.
But this is it again. This is sort of like, instead of like where they're at the academy and when they're kids and they're going out and doing crime fighting stuff, this is the bit where they're not doing all the cool stuff. This is like the bit afterwards where they're having the reunion.
Yeah.
Like 5 at this point, I think 5 is probably the most interesting.
Oh yeah, by far. Him and Klaus. I like Klaus. He's quite cool.
Klaus is alright, but it's only because of the actor. And like, have you ever seen Misfits?
No, I know he's in it. Zoe used to watch Misfits, but
Misfits it's on Netflix. It's still amazing. And like, the fellow who plays Cassidy in Preacher,
yeah,
like he takes over that kind of like crazy eccentric lead role from after that guy leaves. But that whole show is fucking phenomenal.
I'll give it a go at some point.
Honestly, it's so worth it.
I'd like to say I've watched a few episodes, but judging by how I usually remember these things, I've probably maybe watched an advert. But I remember it being on because it used to be on Channel 4. And I remember the kid with the dreadlocks and whatnot, but I don't think I've ever
dreadlocks.
Not like
the I can't remember his name now, but yeah, the
like
big
short,
tall...
like short dreadlocks, not like down here.
Yeah. I can't remember his name now.
I no idea, mate. Again, it's one I've heard good things of, but I say
honestly, it's so good.
I'm persevering with this, and I'll probably finish season 1 and start season 2 by the end of this week. But I'm hoping.
I'd say that in terms of like more interesting characters and well written show, Misfits is better than the Umbrella Academy. Like, there's more memorable stuff, and like it just feels a bit more like with the music and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It feels like it's because it's just sort of like it's the Umbrella Academy, but it's like idiot, stupid children in South London.
Yeah.
But academy, like it's that kind of stuff. It's just so well done.
That's a high school I went
to. But like most of the people from that who are like in that sort of main cast, they have gone on to do bigger and better things. Because like he's been in like the Mortal Engines, and like so he's been like in big film things. But then like the other ones he's been like he was in like the Inhumans. I think he was in Game of Thrones. So he's a big player in Game of Thrones. So
not all of them did well.
I mean, the Inhumans... I don't know. Maybe the Inhumans is coming back, mate, in a big way.
I don't know.
If Anson Mount comes back in, he's having his way about it, maybe. That's a Black Bolt I want to see piss about.
I don't think we'll see. Oh, did you like that picture? No, you sent it to me, didn't you?
If I sent it to you, then yes, presumably I did.
No, I'm sure it was you. I don't think I sent it to you. With Doctor Strange, Mr. Fantastic, and he's like, Black Bolt, tell Wanda where she can find her kids. And it's just like directed by Sam Raimi.
Do you know that bloody how it should have ended? Nick that idea.
No, I haven't watched it yet.
But they do exactly that. So I was just like, oh, okay, that's fun. Either whoever it is that's made the meme, because I don't know when that video came out, but either that
would have been around about the time Doctor Strange came out. They're normally pretty on the ball with the movie. I
don't know. They take a bit long because the production values on them are so fucking good.
I love how
they do some real good stuff. But so it must have just been like, I don't necessarily know if one copied the other, but they're very, very similar. But I just thought it was really funny. It's just sort of like, just tell her where he is. Just gone.
Thing is, though, I mean, obviously it couldn't happen because that's not where the story was going, and they had to die and everything else. But it's just, it still annoys me that like, this is one of, if not the smartest man in the universe. By the way, this is the plan we've got for if you don't back off. And then he just blurts it all out when what he should have done is something like that and not reveal Black Bolt's powers to her.
Or he could have just teleported away because he'd gone, all I can do is stretch. This probably isn't a good idea for me to get involved when I could go and get my entire team maybe who would be better served coming in. Or probably my kids because they're incredibly powerful as well.
Oh, we don't know if you've got kids by this
point. Could have rolled Franklin in.
Might not have them by that point.
But to be fair, though, like of that universe, maybe he was the smartest man on the planet of that universe, who were also a planet full of idiots.
Potentially. Have you seen the clip where they've put? Oh my god, I can't remember his name. Agent Wu from. WandaVision.
WandaVision.
Yeah. And someone put a video up, and it's just like, what? Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, but it's got Jim Halper in it. But it's his head on it, because obviously in that episode where he pretended to be Jim.
Yeah.
It was very funny.
That joke is never going away. Like, if they don't make the Fantastic Four, and if they don't have Krasinski to do it, fair enough.
But they get him to do it.
They have to get him. They have to get him to do it instead. They have to. That would be fucking perfect.
That would be so fucking funny.
Or he's like the stand-in or something like that.
Oh, that'd be so
good.
Thing is, though, there's so many people that will get that joke. Like, there's a lot of like comic book jokes that other people wouldn't get, but because this is a joke from The Office that ties into a comic book, it's so
100 million people have watched it.
So good. It's one of those ones I could show Zoe and she'd get it straight away.
Yeah, for
and
sure.
that's saying something.
Yeah, she doesn't know anything.
On that note, though, thank you for listening. We've rambled on for an hour and 40 minutes, give or take. It's been a fun one. I've enjoyed talking about the boys. So much so that it's made me not want to watch The Umbrella Academy anymore. No, I'm joking.
I think there's... I started watching Preacher again the other week.
I told someone to start watching it, and I was tempted.
I did as well. Who, like, because they'd finished The Boys, and obviously we were talking about The Boys, and I was just like, look, in a lot of ways, I feel that Preacher kind of like led the way for The Boys to kind of come in and be that gross and violent, and like, obviously it's not as sweary. I don't think there's many things that are as sweary as The Boys.
Unlikely, no, but just Butcher alone is.
Exactly. Like, you can't, like, in Britain, cunt is not an acceptable word necessarily, but it's far more used than in America, where it's just like, oh my god, it's the worst thing ever. So to have like an American show, like, I don't think you could have an American, like, if Butcher was supposed to be American, going fucking cunt in way, I just don't think you'd be able to sell it as well. But have him sort of like a rough and tumble Londoner.
I don't think a lot of his mannerisms would work if he wasn't playing this Cockney fella. Like, just like down to some of the stuff, like, I think it's season 1 or season 2, and he's like, where are you going? And he's like, I'm just popping down the shops because we were all out of mind your own fucking business. And it's stuff like that, like putting the kettle on. Like, it's just like a lot of very British things that are. It's turned to 11 because it's an American show, and they think most British people are like that. But
yeah, they're all from Attack the Block or whatever.
Yeah.
All right, bro, free.
But I just think it would work. But Preacher's definitely. I don't think they would have gone with The Boys if Preacher hadn't have been as successful.
That was my argument to them as well. I was just like, I think that set up a lot of, like, especially in like a couple of the later seasons where it just starts going fucking bananas. Like, I don't think like when the Saint comes in and it was when because I'd forgotten that it happened so early, like, because it's in the first season where like LeBlanc and Fior are fighting that angel, and it's just a room full of dead bodies, and they're just getting hacked up or whatever, but. A lot of it is just sort of like it's all like through a peephole, so you can't really see a lot of what's going on. But then there's like her like with her arms and legs cut off in the bathtub and stuff like that. And that's quite shocking. But I reckon that if they were doing that now, if the boys had been able to get away with like someone being inside a penis and exploding them, like I reckon that like you could have that fight scene and there would just be people just getting blown apart. Do you know what I mean? I reckon it'd be another level of violence.
Like you've already said, you only got to look at Invincible and. Between Preacher, Invincible, and The Boys,
they're making real headway into like the proper, shockingly. Oh my god, that's violent.
But a lot of the stuff it's not necessarily shocking. It's realistic. If the Flash ran like they did
through
like a train, they are going to explode.
They wouldn't just get bumped off him and smack into a wall.
It's the worst thing with like people like Spider-Man. Like Spider-Man can like bench like 300. Fucking £1,000 or whatever the fucking hell it was when we googled it last time, but he punches someone and they fall over. No, they wouldn't. Their face would be caved in. Like,
yeah, but he's always pulled his punches.
No, he does. But like, there's a lot of instances. Like, I don't think anybody with that amount of strength could pull the punches that much.
Superman does.
Yeah, exactly.
Like he could shake someone's hand without crushing their entire bone, like all the bones in their hands.
What about when he's on his red kryptonite?
Well, red kryptonite strips him of his powers.
No, it turns him fucking bad. Green kryptonite strips him of his powers. Red kryptonite.
No, I mean, no. I'm thinking of red sun. Sorry, like red sun radiation.
No. Just red kryptonite that like makes him evil.
Oh, I see. Yeah, like berserker mode.
Yeah, and like then he's not pulling his punches then, but it's just people flying into walls. He still batters them, but they'd be dead. And that's just what The Boys does. They just make it more realistic.
Well, it's because if you've got that as like someone's capable of that, that's how you can't write a story around that.
Yeah.
So like, they gear up for the final battle, and he punches Lex Luthor, and his head explodes.
Yeah.
And it's over. Like you can't just have him just do what he would do, which is what he should do every time, which is grab them and fly them into space.
Yeah.
Every time. It doesn't matter who they are, how big they are, what armor they got. Pick them up, throw them into space, throw them at the sun, or something like that. Yeah. Because
they'll either suffocate or they'll set on fire.
Yeah, exactly. And if they can't do that, or if they're not able to do that, or no, they could survive that, then I'm sure he's got much bigger problems. Yeah. But then he's got time to prepare.
Exactly.
But if Homelander can actually fly into space, which I don't know if they've actually said that he can do that or not.
I'd imagine he can.
Well, maybe.
I would assume
but if that's the case, then he should have just picked up Soldier Boy and Maeve and anyone else who's given him grief and fly them into space straight away. But again, you can't write a story around that if you just think logically about, why don't you just do another thing? Well, yeah, but then we wouldn't have this film, for fuck's sake, or this show. Yeah.
It's still excellent regardless.
Yes, The Boys. 2 thumbs up, as is Stranger Things.
2 thumbs up, and a wibbly wobbly thing to pretend to be one of Venka's fucking... I was going to say testicles, and I meant to say tendrils.
Oh, he's wibbly wobbly tentacles. Yeah. See, what I'd be curious about doing now is if any time that's... Because I don't know if they've retconned it in necessarily, but they've said that, it's like a big hive mind. So don't step on the tentacles, because if you step on the tentacles, they'll know who you are straight away. I want to go back and watch all of the other seasons and see when they're in the Upside Down, if anyone touches a tentacle, and they don't immediately get jumped on by demigorgons or whatever.
That's true.
Because if they do, then I've got to make a Reddit post and go, well, actually...
Was you here when Zoe found that post? Someone's gone back and watched the other seasons of Stranger Things and you can hear the clock.
No, I do remember seeing or hearing that something, though. That, like, because they said it, but that makes me think that was that just a cool thing that they did, and now they've gone back and gone, oh, actually, well, we can turn that into a cool thing.
Potentially this wasn't always the end goal kind of thing.
Yeah, they just turned it into that thing. Again, like with like the Mind Flayer and stuff like that, they've just gone, well, actually, that's not the big bad, this guy is. Like, was that always the plan? Like, in season 1, was this guy always going to be number 1? Or was it? Of course not. They just sort of they play it as they go. But they've done quite a good job of sort of going back and saying, well, this explains why this, blah, blah, blah. But that's the thing. Like, so if, like, in the first or second season or something like that, and someone is walking around in the Upside Down and then does step on a tentacle or something like that, or nudges one and it's not addressed, but a thing jumps on them, then is that not just something that they've seen and gone, let's just say that they're all interconnected and that's why they got caught so quickly, is because they stepped on all the tentacles or whatever, or they burnt them all. So maybe they've gone back and sort of done things like that, or maybe it was all planned from the start.
I did really want...
It's possible.
Sorry, I've got ballerina over here. I did want to go back and start showing things from the beginning, leading up to the new season, but I didn't get a chance to do it. But I think now it's finished. I've got 2 years, so I'll watch.
That's plenty of time to get back.
I'll finish Umbrella Academy, and then I think I'll just start Strange Things from the beginning and just try and do it.
Well, watch Misfits before you watch fucking Stranger Things again.
I don't know. I'm quite into the idea of watching it again. No, I will try. I'll definitely try. Zoe liked it, so I'm sure she'd like to watch it again. Anyway, we're going to go because someone is going to bark any minute now. So head over to... Oh no, Dan's done it already.
It was me. It was me all along.
Head over to the website, which everything's going along the bottom of the screen now, which is podcastversusplayer.com. Head over to Spotify, iTunes, Google Podcasts, Amazon. Anywhere you listen to podcasts, you can listen to this, or you can head over to YouTube and watch it, because there's a bloody video and everything. It's all there. Lots of retro shenanigans and stuff have gone up over the last week or so, including another one that will go up either the day before this or the day after this goes up. One or the other.
Is that the last one? I think
this is the last one.
One or two left, maybe.
Last one.
It is the last one. Okay.
It's ironically quite funny. You did a Only Fools and Horses impression earlier on during the war.
Did I? Oh yeah.
In this video, there is a Only Fools and Horses callback.
Really?
Not callback, like a little silly edit that I did.
Oh, so okay, cool.
That was very random that happened.
Well, when everyone who's not from England, presumably as old as us or older, once they finish watching Stranger Things and they finish watching The Boys, and they've gone and watch Preacher, and then they go and watch Misfits, start watching Only Fools and Horses.
Brilliant.
A show that you absolutely won't get or enjoy from the 70s, I want to say.
Let's say 70s, right? It
started in.
Yeah. It's older than us, anyway.
Yeah, like I think it already. Oh no, it wouldn't have finished because I think like the. Like they carried on making it like into the late 90s, 2000s. Didn't they?
I was old enough to look forward to the finale of Only Fools and Horses.
Yeah, and then they did like a Joey spin-off for.
With Matt LeBlanc.
Yeah,
it was really
Matt
weird.
LeBlanc was playing. I tell you what, I've just started watching Friends from the beginning, like actually from the beginning again. Some of it has not aged well in terms of like comedy. It's sort of like, oh, that's really homophobic or whatever. But for the most part, it's still funny as fuck, mate. Brilliant. It's a great little show.
Green Grass is the thing you're thinking of with Boise and Marlene.
Oh, is that it? Yeah.
Shit.
Because they just decided to just go, this guy who's just a rich foil to him, let's make him a character, rather than doing like the Uncle Albert show or whatever.
Yeah, or even like Trigger or someone. Like Trigger would have been a more compelling...
Trig would have been great. That would have been like Trigger and Denzel, maybe.
Yeah.
Just sort of just getting into just stupid adventures.
Yeah, turn into like Lethal Weapon, the series.
Wow. I'd love to see a Lethal Weapon remake, and it's Trig and Denzel from Only
brilliant.
Only
I'd
Fools.
fucking love that.
You'd have to go back in time about 40 years to make it.
Oh,
but
yeah,
sure.
but it's doable. We got deepfake technology. Anyway, on that note, we're going to scarper, and we'll see you on the next one. And obviously, keep an eye out for the gameplays and the other stuff that's going up. Dan, say goodbye.
Goodbye.
Bye.